Welcome to our workshop on conflict management. I'm Professor Richard. And today I want to talk to you about the value of the science of Dr. Norberto Keppe and Dr. Claudia Pacheco in this area of resolving conflicts in your professional and personal life. In any aspect of your life, actually, the science that we teach in our courses will come in immensely valuable to you. You probably have had some of these kind of questions that come to us frequently in our various classes. All our professors will talk about these kinds of questions that people pose for them, like why your colleagues and family and friends sabotage themselves, do things that are counterproductive for their own work. Why do people procrastinate? I have something I need to do. Why does it take me so long to get it done? Why you get discouraged and unenthusiastic. What's happening there? You lose your impetus. You lose your initiative. What's happening there? Why don't people pull their weight at work? Why are there these people who don't do as much as they should do? What's going on with that? Why do people have envy of the progress and development of others? What's going on there? People feel this resentment almost when people start to step out and develop and go forward. Why people can't take direction or even positive criticism. You know how difficult it is if you're a supervisor or a manager to do those performance reviews. It's sometimes one of the most difficult things to do. How do you tell people that they need to improve in what they're doing? People don't take this criticism well. What's going on there? Why do people feel like imposters, this imposter syndrome that is people are talking about so much in business and life today, right? Why do you have resistance to taking more responsibility? What's going on there? You have an offer for a leadership position or to take on more responsibility at work. You feel this resistance. What's going on there? Why are competitive environments less productive than cooperative ones? All of those questions come up frequently in our classes and in our various subjects that we teach in our numerous courses in our university, in our college. And most importantly, how to deal with those, right? We see that they happen. How to deal with those things, how to deal with procrastination, how to deal with laziness, how to deal with a teenage son who's lazy, how to deal with somebody on the team who's not pulling their weight, who's not doing their job. How do we deal with those in a tolerant and spiritually mature way? This is what we teach in our courses, and especially in this one of conflict management, a course that we do all in English. So while you're learning this incredible science that will help you in all areas of your life, you're also developing your language skills. That's interesting. So why do all these things go on? You recognize this, that this happens in your workplace, it happens in your family life, maybe even happens in you. I remember when I was in high school, and the first day of school, the history teacher gave us an assignment that we needed to finish by the end of the year. That's 9 months later. He gave us this assignment on the first day, and most of us did it in the last week. We procrastinated until the very end. Why do we do things like that sabotage us? This is all the very rich area that we explore in our conflict management course, and how to deal with that, how to actually develop practical, usable tools that will help you to deal with these problems in yourself, in your friends and colleagues and people that you work with, people that you associate with every day. Does that sound interesting? Because it's like this, as Dr. Claudia Pacheco says, our co-founder of our trilogical colleges, along with Norberto Keppe, knowing what's going on in people's minds is essential today. There are so many conflicts in human relationships that if you don't understand what's going on in people's heads, you'll never achieve real success in your personal or professional life. And that's exactly what we've discovered, that the problems that we face, the difficulties that we have to go forward, to develop, to improve, come from inside us. Just like in sports, the difference between a great winner and somebody who has difficulties under pressure is a mental thing. It's inside the human being. It's not something external. It's not related to the opponent or the situation or the weather or the wind or the size of the ball or anything like that. It all relates to what's going on inside us. This is what's really important. And so our course deals directly with that. And I want to give you a little taste of how we work. Here's an example of one of our students, right? Sonia, purchasing department manager at an engineering company. And one of her team members is resistant to inputting data into the SAP software the department uses to manage the project. You understand that, right? The project management happens through this software program. All the data needs to be entered there for everybody who's involved in the project. It can be hundreds of people, for all of them to be able to see what's going on, where they are in the process, what's been purchased, what's not been purchased, what's been achieved, what's not been achieved. They can follow all that in this software, project management software. If somebody doesn't input the information there, it means that the department, the whole group, the whole team working on this project is going to be in the dark. So here's a problem that comes up. And when I ask students, what do you think's going on here? There are lots of kind of excuses that come up, right? Common explanations like, this person is a creature of habit. This is an expression in English to say that they're like a macaco velho, an old dog. They don't like to change. They're used to doing things a certain way. And so they don't get accustomed to new procedures and new policies in the company. This is one of the explanations that people give. Or that they have doubts about the necessity of the process. They're judging the process and saying, well, this is not that important, not necessary. Or they have fear of added responsibilities. If I do this, people are going to expect more. They have confusion about the process, about the necessity, why this is important. They have a lack of understanding about the impact on their colleagues and their coworkers. The person's not happy in his job, so he's silently sabotaging himself. Or he has conflicts with other demands. There's other things he's doing, and he just doesn't get around to doing this particular thing. Can you recognize those explanations? And all of those are interesting, I think, but they're very superficial. And they don't really solve the problem. Now, what happens in a company, usually in this kind of situation, is if the boss is kind of a dictator, he'll just say, do it this way or leave the company. They have this possibility to just fire the person. But if we want to be more humane in what we're doing, we want to actually help the person, we need to go a little bit deeper. We can't stay just in these superficial solutions. There's something more going on here. And so this is the basis of our work at the Trilogical Colleges, the science of Norberto Keppe. And what Dr. Keppe has discovered is that we are what we don't know about ourselves. So we could be acting in a way and not understanding it, which is why we come up with all of these excuses. And the kind of excuses you hear: I didn't have enough time, there was too much pressure, I have too many things to do, this wasn't that important. We'll have lots of excuses to justify why we don't do what we need to do, or what happens when we sabotage or procrastinate, or when we're lazy, or when we let down the team, or when we notice something that's going wrong inside the department and we don't say anything. Any of these common problems that come up, they're related to this that Dr. Keppe has discovered after 70 years or more of working with thousands of human beings all around the world. We are what we don't know about ourselves. That's what's driving us. So in the case of our colleague and Sonia in the purchasing department of this engineering company, the colleague who's very resistant to entering data, inputting data into the project management software, we have to help Sonia to understand this. There's something going on underneath this person's behavior, much more than the excuses that we normally hear. So here's our famous iceberg, right? And this is used in the study of psychopathology, of psychology, to show us the little bit on the surface that we're conscious of, and the huge part under the surface that we don't have consciousness about. And what's controlling us, what's driving our companies, our departments, our families, our own lives, is this part under the surface that we don't know. If I could illustrate it, it would be like this. Every action has an intention behind it, even if that intention is not conscious. So everything we do comes from an intention. All right? And this we need to understand in ourselves if we really want to move forward. And this is what our course deals with, helping people to understand themselves at this deeper level so they can really solve the problems that are very common in the workplace today. Right? Our results reveal our true intentions. And this is interesting because if we ask ourselves now, going a little bit deeper, where does Sonia's team member place himself in relation to the project management software? Here's the project management software. And where does he consider himself in relationship to this? Is he sort of underneath in a humble position? Or does he put himself up above? So if he's resistant to putting information into this project management software, the project management software is necessary. It's a necessary tool inside the department. Where is he placing himself in relation to that? Way up here. So it's not that he has other responsibilities or fears, or he doesn't see the value. It's that he doesn't consider himself at this level. This is beneath him. Doing this project management software, I'm bigger than that. I don't waste my time with that stuff. That's for these other junior people inside the department. I'm special, I'm incredible, I'm here. So the problem here now becomes a psychological one. And if Sonia doesn't understand that, she won't know how to deal with it. She won't know how to deal with this guy because she'll think that maybe he's not happy in his job, maybe he's got problems at home, and all of those things can be factors. But the biggest factor here is this psychological one. The person puts themselves above the work that needs to be done. Can you see how valuable that is to understand? So we deal with that in our companies, and in our lives, and we help students to recognize this and begin to understand this at a much deeper way. So when it comes to handling that problem at work, they have more understanding of what's going on. They can help the person to understand their problem is that they put themselves above. It's not that they're insecure or afraid or even resistant. They are above the project. So where do our problems arise at work? We look at this. We see that all of these things are above the surface. The mission, vision, values, knowledge, best practices, our abilities, the norms of the company, the directives, the know-how. There are many guidelines that are written. There are many meetings held about this. The Human Resources Department is teaching this all the time. Some companies even have manuals of communication guidelines, how to deal with conflict at work in a sort of logical way. All of those things are very well articulated. This is the conscious part of the human being. We know what we should do. I know I should go to the gym or get some exercise, but I don't. And why? It's not because I don't have time. It's because there's something else going on under the surface. So here's the part that trips us up at work, that causes us problems at work. This toxic competition, intrigue, gossip, power struggles, envy, jealousy, sabotage, greed, these unconscious parts or inconscientized parts of us. This is what causes us the problems. If we're looking only on the surface, what will we do? We'll have the person read the mission, vision, and values. We'll give them a course to develop their knowledge. We'll show them the best practices. We'll try to convince them logically why it's important to put that information into the project management software. But if we're dealing in the more psychological way, more profound way, we'll help them to understand how their actions is actually action that's sabotaging their own development. And this is something they're doing against themselves. So by going a little bit deeper into these inconscientized intentions, we can really make a difference in how we work and how we help other people at work, how we manage, how we lead, including how we deal with our resistant or rebellious teenagers, how we deal with difficulties at home, with parents who are starting to get sick or having problems with other family members who are causing difficulties with colleagues and co-workers and even bosses and superiors. By understanding this psychological part, we can go much further in our own development, professionally and personally. So I want to play you a little bit of a video here from Dr. Claudia Pacheco, just to explain a little bit this process that we use of interiorization, helping us to recognize what's going on inside us in order to be able to deal with the problems that are going on externally. Let's watch that now.
Na psicanálise tradicional, Freud se utilizava do divã, da associação de ideias e da análise dos sonhos para a pessoa ter um contato, uma conscientização do seu inconsciente. Keppe visa usar um método estritamente científico, também se utilizando do divã, da associação dos sonhos, da análise de atos falhos, para que a pessoa, mas não só isso, para que a pessoa se conscientize da sua vida interior. Mas como vida interior, Keppe entende muito mais do que o inconsciente. Entende esse campo todo de sentimentos, de pensamentos, de intenções e da consciência. Agora, como obter melhor esse contato com o interior? Porque tudo na nossa vida, na sociedade, e a própria inversão da qual nós somos sujeitos, nos leva a olhar para fora, a reparar nos nossos pais, na sociedade, no nosso marido, na mulher, nos filhos, no patrão, no mundo externo. E não perceber que é um mundo interior, que existe um universo muito mais rico, muito mais amplo do que qualquer coisa que está no exterior. Mas também a nossa psicopatologia. Então, Keppe se utiliza na prática de um elemento que é a técnica da interiorização ou até do espelho, poder-se dizer, uma dialética para que a gente possa ver quando nós nos incomodamos ou nos admiramos com algo em outra pessoa, a gente pode, através de associação de ideias, colocar aquilo no nosso interior. Assim como nós não podemos olhar para o nosso rosto, nos conhecer, precisamos de um espelho, nós nos utilizamos do mundo exterior e do outro para esse espelho, para vermos esse mundo incrível que está dentro de nós e que não está sendo devidamente utilizado. Então, essa técnica de interiorização permite, inclusive, que o analista não precise fazer nenhuma espécie de interferência na vida da pessoa, na vida psíquica. Ele, através dessa técnica, ele facilita que o cliente se conheça por dentro.
So you see, there's a process that we use, a scientific process that comes from the history of psychoanalysis. It's a proven scientific technique that helps us to be able to manage these things and not just create more opinions or more do it my way or leave, more dictatorial ways, or even more convincing, trying to encourage. No, we're dealing with those inconscientized aspects of the human being, including in ourselves. Right? So that's really, really important. So in our method, we learn to look at our inner conflicts, this process of interiorization. Because if we don't understand that, we won't be able to deal with those external problems. We'll get too identified with it. Also, this helps us to recognize, because we recognize in ourselves, it helps us to recognize these problems in others. So if I'm a person who has, if I'm a rebellious or resistant person, I have problems with authority. If I begin to understand that in myself, I begin to be able to understand that and deal with that in the external world, with others, with my teenagers, with my colleagues, co-workers, the people that I'm managing, anything like that, right? So our method deals with this a lot. And by dealing with our inner and outer conflicts, we develop a lot. We have a way to progress, to go forward. This is what we're dealing with in our courses, all of our courses, and in our conflict management course especially. So if we look at our differentials, we see this traditional approach, which is to teach techniques of how to have success. You'll see this a lot, right? The 3 steps to success, the 10 pathways to being a better leader, the 5 steps to better communication. This is the way that the world normally looks at these kind of problems, developing tips on how to improve. We look at why the person's not having success. Not how to be more successful, but how the person is sabotaging their success, undermining themselves already, right? Or to build steps to motivate yourself, right? You need to motivate. You need to have this process for motivation. We help the person to see the psychological reasons why they're unmotivated. What's going on that the person doesn't get motivated in their work, in their life, right? Positive thinking, huge in the United States. If life gives you lemons, make lemonade, right? Let a smile be your umbrella. All of this kind of thinking is very, well, it can be helpful, but it's superficial because we have to see the errors, the pathologies that we have in order to get healthier. It doesn't help us just to be positive. We need to look at the problems, see the difficulties, do this root cause analysis that they talk about in engineering in order to really move forward. If we're just sort of jumping over that with positive thinking, we could be missing something habitual that we do that will in the future cause us to have a problem again, right? So in the traditional method, they teach artificial techniques to avoid conflicts, right? How to avoid conflict. And we conscientize the motives, psychological motives or reasons for the conflicts, and then how to solve them. Not to avoid them, and many people try to avoid them at work because they don't know how to deal with them. So they just avoid dealing with the problem. The challenge there is if you don't deal with this problem, communication problem, personality problem, in the future it's going to be a bigger problem. You know that. If you just hide something away, you know, say, oh no, there's no problem there, soon there's smoke coming under the door. And the boss says, what's going on there? So, no, there's nothing there. You open the door, there's a fire going on inside because we've not been dealing with that along the way. The traditional method to teach techniques to avoid accidents and sicknesses. We work on preventing and reducing diseases and accidents through conscientization because many times an accident or a problem in this way, even a physical sickness, can be a somatization. The person is feeling something inside that they don't want to deal with, and so they somatize in terms of an accident, could even have an accident as a way of trying to bring consciousness to the situation. So to avoid that kind of situation, accidents, people getting sick all the time, we work with conscientization. You know how many sick days are lost at work, right? People are sick for things that could be solved through our techniques, through our consciousness. And the traditional method teaches methods to stop feeling stress and tiredness. And we work to understand the etiology of stress so we can calm ourselves and energize from that. So our approach goes much, much deeper and actually resolves these problems at the root and not just covering over with techniques or more mask. Okay, this is what we do in our conflict management course. So there it is. It's an 18-month course, 360 hours. approved, authorized by MEC, by the Ministry of Education and Culture here in Brazil. Friday evenings, and a workshop, practical workshop on Saturdays, a conflict management workshop. So you'll have the course content, which is also very practical, but the course content on Friday nights with some online material to study in our platform. And then a practical working workshop on Saturday mornings in order to learn the techniques for dealing with conflict and dealing with problems, okay? Registration fee is there, the course fee is there, and beginning in March this year, and there's the phone number. Please, if you're interested in any way, call for more information. We'll give you more information about that, and get started, because this is something that will help you in every area of your life. It's very deep work that comes from Dr. Keppe's extraordinary development in the study of psychosociopathology. Pathology being problems, right? We look at that psychologically and socially to help you to deal with that better in your life and in your family, in your work, in your own health, in every area of your life. Okay? That's what we're doing. Thank you. It would be wonderful to have you join us. I know you'll find a lot of value in what we do with the school of Dr. Keppe and Dr. Pacheco and our faculdades trilógicas, our trilogical colleges. Okay, nice to have you with me. I hope that was helpful. See you in the classroom.
As faculdades trilógicas, Keppe Pacheco e Nossa Senhora de Todos os Povos levam o nome trilógicas porque nós trabalhamos com o trino: teologia, filosofia e ciência, com sentimento, pensamento e ação. E essa nova escola de pensamento foi criada pelo psicanalista Norberto Keppe e é muito inovadora porque nós estudamos em todos os nossos cursos a ciência mais importante para a humanidade no momento, a psico e a sociopatologia, no que a doença individual e a doença social estão impedindo que o ser humano realize a felicidade, a sanidade, o progresso na nossa humanidade, no nosso planeta. Então, seja você também um aluno que vai ser um agente de transformação psicossocial na nossa Terra.
Welcome to the course.
Oi, eu só queria dizer bem-vindos às faculdades trilógicas.
Bienvenue à la faculté trilogique.
Eu espero que você se inspire com nossos cursos, que utilizam o método psicolinguístico terapêutico de Norberto Keppe.
O estudo da mais nova ciência da energética aplicada à tecnologia de motores ressonantes Keppe Motor, mundialmente premiada.
O trabalho com o interior psíquico do ser humano, estimulando a farmácia interior.
A ciência transdisciplinar de Keppe no tratamento das patologias psíquicas, individuais e sociais.
Os benefícios das artes para o desenvolvimento pessoal e profissional.
A verdadeira espiritualidade à luz da trilogia analítica, unindo filosofia, teologia e ciência.
Soluções para a crise energética e a preservação da Terra.
O estudo aprofundado da patologia da sociedade, da economia e das leis.